Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Rushcliffe series. This is the southernmost district in Nottinghamshire and it contains 59 civil parishes of England. And there's some corkers down here. Let's dive in and check one out. Welcome back to Rushcliffe, everybody. Now, my parking space in this one is certainly resonating well with me because it's a little cul-de-sac with a couple of houses in it. Dead end, obviously, right? But the name of it has made me chuckle. It's called Little Lincoln. You can take the boy out of Lincolnshire, you can't take the Lincolnshire out of the boy. Love it, love it. We're gonna have a walk around a nice village here. This is one that I know has got a lot of fabulous old buildings and it's called Wysall. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Wysall, Hill of Plants. Hello again, Rushcliffe. This week we're exploring one of the many villages in your district that begin with the letter W. Trust me, there are lots of them, and they all seem to be clustered together in the centre of the district. The likes of Widmerpool and Willoughby on the Wolds are for later. This week we're tackling Wysall. This one has a funny name, doesn't it? Wysall, apparently, according to the experts, means Hill of Plants, but that's not with a 100% certainty. The hill part could well be right though. Wysall does sit on a shallow incline on the Nottinghamshire Wolds, just to the south of the much bigger village of Keyworth. It has a rather clustered shape, and although it's linear, this route is a circle thanks to a handy little footpath. Landmarks are plentiful for such a small place. Wysall can boast a wonderful church with a tall spire, a hilltop pub with a long history, a central manor house that oozes ancient rural charm, and a village hall which is the centre of a friendly and vibrant community. Wysall can also count its blessings, being, as it is, one of the 41 thankful villages across the country who lost no men during World War I. So sit back as we take on this gorgeous little place. Look out for some dodgy football skills and a posing postie. There's never a dull moment on this channel. Let's go. We start our walk at Little Lincoln and immediately head north along Wymeswold Road into the village centre. Wysall is such a small village, but it feels a lot bigger than it actually is. That's because all the properties almost seem to overlap each other. They are that tightly packed together. At the end of this first road we come to an old forge on the corner of Main Street, a fine example of the picturesque dwellings Wysall has on offer. Nearby we have a bench which acts as a memorial for World War II. In World War I, Wysall lost no men at all, making it one of the 41 thankful villages across the country. This building is the village hall, widely used by the locals. This began its life in 1871 as the village school. Exactly 100 years later it closed its door for that purpose and became the public building it is today. As a school it contained 2 classrooms with accommodation for up to 50 pupils. Outside this you'll spot an information board about the clock on the church tower. It's an important feature of the village. It was donated as a Thanksgiving memorial for the safe return of all the men who went to war in 1914. The hall and the village sign also proudly display this bit of wartime history. Wysall was referred to in the Domesday Book as Wyssock, and at that time its main focal point was its church. It still is today, almost 1,000 years later, but this isn't the same building. Dedicated to Holy Trinity, this has Norman origins and dates back to the 13th century. It dominates the village centre, despite the relatively stumpy spire atop its tower. That spire and the wooden ladder leading up into the bell chamber are among the oldest parts of the building, dating all the way back to its construction. The chancel is a later feature, as it was added in the 14th century. After a short amble up Main Street, have yourself a look now at this gem of a property. That is the Manor House, a 16th century timber frame farmhouse, which in terms of age is second only to the church here. It's Grade 2 listed. It has of course been extensively added to over the centuries. From experience, I would imagine the house once had an actual drive, and it's likely it was gated. That would explain why it's at the end of a modern cul-de-sac. The house lies at the end of Manor House Drive, clearly far newer than the house to which its name refers. Back to Main Street, next we've got the phone box. No phone in this these days though, instead it's a defib machine. Now at the house opposite, this property, I got chatting to one of the locals who told me a bit about the solar farm at Bunny Old Wood. I'm sure you remember that from a few episodes ago. He thought with the high-vis and the camera I was a spy from Exogen. The residents of Wysall are just as concerned as those in Bunny are about the solar farm. Aside from the wood, their main fear is that it will force deer who frequent the countryside in these parts into the roads. Next, I encountered a posing post lady. I was, of course, trying to capture the Plough. This pub was once used as a courthouse and dates back to the 17th century. Many a famous football personality has set foot in this pub, including Brendan Rodgers, who lived in Wysall during his time as manager of Leicester City. BBC pundit and former Nottingham Forest player Jermaine Genius has also been here before too. The Plough has even welcomed the boxer Chris Eubank in its time, as well as our current King Charles III, when, as Prince of Wales, he was in the area for the Quorn Hunt in 1985. Next, we go down Widmerpool Road, and that collection of housing you see there is called Chapelside. It's an apt name because next door is the old Wesleyan Chapel. Methodism appears to have entered Wysall in around 1787, and members initially met in cottages. A chapel was built on Widmerpool Road in 1825 and was then replaced with this building in 1881 on the same site. A schoolroom was added in 1919. The chapel closed in 2004 after the discovery of structural damage to the roof. Here's the rest of Widmerpool Road before we turn around and find a footpath. Our last act is to follow this very well signposted public right-of-way, which runs all the way around a simply gorgeous bit of green space. Whoever owns this part of the village does a really good job of maintaining it. If that's you watching this episode, then I say bravo. Part of this green is given over to a small patch of allotments. Here you go, allotment fans, I haven't left you out in this one. Add these to your ever-growing collection. Towards the end of the path it becomes a little boggy, but it soon gives way to a playground, and once again we have football nets. Time for some more silky skills. Right, you remember last week in Costock the ball was flat and I scuffed the shot? Well, let's see if this is any better. Hopefully it will be, because that ball is definitely not flat. So. Right down the middle, unstoppable. Okay, so we exit the playground via the back of the village hall, which we saw earlier, and you should be in familiar territory right here, because the church is here, dead opposite the village hall. Simple case of turning left and heading back to Little Lincoln, where we began. What a lovely little village Wysall is. Definitely recommend you come and visit this one. And folks, that's just about that. The only big thing I haven't covered in Wysall would be the Rise Home Country store on the road to Costock, which started life in a modest shed, selling the occasional bag of horse feed. It's now the largest local business. There's a link down below in the description if you want to know a bit more about them. Next week we're off into the countryside, and I mean literally. Wysall's parish council also managed the place directly to the south. It's vastly different to this. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.